Curating your dream style and wardrobe can feel very frustrating if you feel like you're doing everything right, you're thoughtfully considering what you want your style to look like, and you're shopping all of the right pieces. But when it all comes together, there's just something about it that feels a little bit off, but you can't really put your finger on why. Hi, and welcome back to my channel, or just welcome if you're new. My name is Marie, and I'm all about making fashion make sense. This is my first video of 2025, and I'm so happy to be back, and I really missed you guys. I hope you all had a very nice holiday and a great start to the new year. So in this video, I want to talk about styling mistakes that we're not making in 2025, or any other year for that matter. We're starting today, because if you're ready to invest in bettering your style, whether that's through investing money in better quality items or investing time by watching videos like this to learn more about fashion and style, I get that it can be super frustrating when your wardrobe doesn't feel like you don't feel comfortable and confident in your outfits even though you feel like you should, or you feel very limited and not satisfied in the style you have created. These are all very common mistakes that, in my opinion, often gets overlooked, and if you can avoid these, I think I can make your journey in dressing better way easier. So mistake number one is buying uncomfortable shoes. It's 2025, and there's just no need to compromise comfort over style when there are brands out there that are dedicated to doing better. So this portion of the video has so kindly been sponsored by Vivaya, who is a brand that is dedicated to making eco-friendly, high quality and comfortable footwear. Because did you know that shoes are the only wardrobe item that can actually cause lasting physical damage? Unlike a blazer that doesn't fit quite right or a dress that isn't your best color, shoes can actually cause damage to your posture, joint health, circulation, and your nerves. I don't think I have to put a huge disclaimer here because I doubt that anyone thought this, but I still want to make it clear that I am not a doctor, so I'm not going to go too deep into the health aspects of it, but it is pretty easy to do your own research and see how it can affect your physical health. Shoes is something that you wear every single day, so for me, it's definitely worth the extra thought and investment. I've had my eye on Vivaya for a while now, especially after seeing celebrities like Selena Gomez, Julia Roberts, Scarlett Johansson, and Jenna Ortega, just to name a few, wearing them. So naturally, I just had to see what it was all about. And now that I have tried them out, I can honestly say that they did not disappoint. So when I'm looking for comfortable shoes, sneakers are of course an easy go-to option, but they're not always the best choice for every occasion or every activity. And they do also have a way of making your outfits feel more casual. So I was really looking for some stylish non-sneaker options, and Vivaya has a huge range of styles beyond sneakers, like flats, boots, loafers, heels, sandals, and mules. So whether you're looking for something casual, something dressy, or just a good everyday shoe, there's a pretty good chance that you will find something there that works for you. Their shoes are crafted from recycled plastic bottles, and what I really appreciate is that they're designed for actual practical everyday life. For winter, I picked up 2 pair of boots. They have an anti-slip sole, are water repellent, and feature heat retaining tech. I actually put them to the test on a 30-minute winter hike in the snow in -degree weather. I only wore thin, regular ankle socks, and my feet stayed warm and dry the entire time. I could also walk really comfortably without slipping, and I feel like that's something that often gets overlooked. Sometimes we're too focused on making sure that the shoe is comfortable from the inside that we neglect the outer sole. It needs to have some grip and profile so that you're not just slipping around everywhere. I also love that these boots have a stretchy leg shaft, so if you have wider calves, these will fit really comfortably without being too tight or too restrictive. I think this is pretty obvious, but I just have to say that it is so important to get the right fit, whether that's around your foot, your ankles, or your calves. Your shoes shouldn't be too tight, but also not too loose so that your foot slides around. You want just enough room to be able to wiggle your toes without feeling too cramped. If you often feel like your shoes are squeezing at your toes. You can opt for wider toe boxes or a lightly squared or almond shaped style. For spring and summer, I picked up these squared toe Mary Janes, which have a flexible sole and built-in padding, making them super wearable and also super comfortable. A well-padded sole really makes all the difference, especially if you're on your feet for longer periods of time. Some shoes also need to have a little bit of flexibility so that they move with your foot as you walk instead of working against them. Plus, these are also machine washable, which is perfect, especially if you're choosing a lighter design. So you really don't have to worry about being extra careful because you can just throw them in the wash if they get dirty. Then when it comes to heels, they don't have to be uncomfortable either. Choosing lower block heels or kitten heels can make them less painful and more wearable since they distribute your weight more evenly and reduces the pressure on the balls of your feet. I would recommend to always do a test walk at home or in store, of course, not outside, before you fully commit. If a shoe is already rubbing uncomfortably when you try it on, it's only going to get worse after a full day of wear. So don't forget to apply these tips for next time you're going shoe shopping. And if you want to try Vivaya for yourself, you can check out the full selection on their website, and don't forget to use my code Marie12 for 12% off. Mistake number 2 is copying someone else's style. This is one you've probably heard before, and I have definitely talked about this in the past, but I don't think I've ever really talked about how to actually take and use inspiration that you see online and apply it to your wardrobe in a way that still feels like you. Because one of the best tools that you'll ever have for improving your style and dressing better that is completely for free is outfit inspiration photos. But we all know that copying someone else's style to a T never works. So I want to give you 2 practical tips on how you can source inspiration much more efficiently and in a way that you can even apply it to clothes that you already have. So when you have an outfit picture that you really like in front of you, start by looking at each piece of clothing individually to pinpoint exactly what it is that you like about that outfit. Most of the time, you don't actually need those exact clothing pieces to be able to recreate the same vibe. When you break it down, you might realize that it's the silhouette of how something boxy looks that you really like, or maybe it's the balance between something oversized and something fitted. It could also be the earthy color scheme that you feel really drawn to, or you might really love the mix of textures. So this is not about copying that exact outfit, but more so about being inspired by the styling and then creating your own version of it. The other way to do it, which I actually think is the better way if you want to stick to styling clothes that you already have, is to notice the broader concepts that you're drawn to. So instead of analyzing one outfit at a time, look at all of your inspiration photos and write down the general concepts that you see. This could be simplicity, neutrals, or the subtle mix of soft and structure. Once you've written a few of these concepts down, go to your closet and try to put together outfits based on those guidelines without looking back at any reference photos. So instead of constantly referencing back to a particular outfit to see if you're doing it right, give yourself more freedom to interpret that style in your own way and focus on what you already have in your closet instead of focusing on what you don't have and what you need to buy. Now let's move on to mistake number 3, which also has to do with shopping, and that is buying stuff that is not on your wish list. It sounds pretty obvious and maybe simple, but avoiding this can actually be harder than we realize. And I actually think that this is one of the biggest and most common mistake that's making our wardrobes feel cluttered and not aligned with what we are imagining our dream style to be. So in today's shopping landscape, retailers have become really good at understanding our shopping habits and making us feel like we have to buy now or risk missing out forever. Sounds a little bit dramatic, but if you watch the Netflix documentary Buy Now, The Shopping Conspiracy, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, I highly recommend it. I found it to be really interesting. So in that documentary, they talked a little bit about how marketing strategies are designed to trigger certain emotional responses that's pushing us to impulse buy things without even realizing it. For example, brands can use that limited time only or only a few items left tactics to create a false sense of urgency. And the more we're told that something is in limited supply, the more we think that it is something that we need to have. And that's often how we end up with stuff that we don't actually want or need, but feel like we should buy just because of the pressure that's around us. And this emotional response isn't just limited to when we're shopping new things. We can also feel this sense of urgency when we're thrifting or secondhand shopping. I think we've all been there when you go through a secondhand shop or browse secondhand shop platforms looking for something specific, but then in the process, you find something that feels almost meant to be. You tell yourself that it's fate, that it's a rare find, and that you'll never ever see this again. And before you know it, you're making a purchase on impulse, even though it doesn't really align what you were actually looking for in the first place. So how do we then break the cycle? What I believe is the best way to do it is to make a plan, create a wish list, and then stick to it. It's not a guarantee that you'll never buy something that you didn't need ever again, but it's at least a precaution, and it's much easier to see the bigger vision of what you're trying to achieve with every new clothing piece that you add to your wardrobe. So to curate your wish list, I would start with creating a mood board with outfits that just speak to you or align with your personal style. Then once you have around 50 to 100 outfit photos, pay attention to the pieces that you see appear over and over again in those outfits. If you see an item that's consistently part of your style vision and that you don't have yet, write that down. I would look for items that I see repeatedly on my mood board at least 5 times before I add it to my wish list. It doesn't always have to be the exact same piece. Like you could, for example, see 6 different turtlenecks in different colors. That just means that you really like the style of turtlenecks, but you have to think a little bit extra on which color you would like to choose. But then you should also remember that just because you have a wish list doesn't mean that you just shop whatever's on there blindly. Always make sure to try on the items from your wish list first before you commit and make them yours. It's really easy to fall in love with something that you see online or when it's hanging on a clothing rack in the store, but once you put it on, you might realize that it's not as flattering, comfortable, or as practical as you first thought. Maybe it's a little too tight in the wrong places, or the fabric just doesn't feel as luxurious as you had imagined. The key here is to really trust how something feels when you wear it. Even if you think that on paper it is the perfect piece, it's worth reconsidering if that piece should really stay on your wish list, or if you maybe need to take some extra time to really look for that perfect version of it. Your wardrobe should really be made up of things that not only look good, but also feel good. And that leads me to mistake number 4, which is forgetting to consider how an outfit moves. This is kind of self-explanatory, but it is something that I haven't seen a lot of people talk about, even though it is so important. Because we're not just standing around in our outfits, we're actually living in them. And an outfit that looks great in a mirror can still be super awkward in real life if it doesn't move right. Stiff fabrics, awkward hemlines, or skirts that constantly ride up can make you feel really uncomfortable throughout the day. I've definitely fallen into the trap of not considering how an outfit functions beyond what it looks like, but I've definitely become much better at it and also become more mindful, especially now when I'm looking for my wedding dress. I'm getting married in August this year, which I'm sure I have already mentioned before, but in this search for the perfect dress, I want to make sure that it fits right, that I can stand in it, sit, dance, move around, and just walk freely. I've gotten so many tips through Instagram and TikTok of different tests that I should do with the dress to make sure that it really fits properly. And that got me thinking that we really should have the same mindset towards clothes that we wear every single day. So always make sure that when you try something on, you test how it feels to move around in it, sit, walk, stretch your arms. And if something shifts in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable, you can try a different sizing or just look for a different piece that fits your body type better. Now, mistake number 5 is relying too heavily on aesthetics or style concepts to fix your style. Today we live in a time where aesthetics are everywhere. You've probably come across terms like clean girl, coquette, or old money. Each one offers a specific, distinct set of style rules or preferences, and it can be really tempting to just adopting one single style or one single aesthetic, especially when they are labeled and and packaged so neatly, but more often than not, following a certain aesthetic, style, or even a style concept, like a capsule wardrobe, for example, isn't always the answer. Recently, I have seen more and more fashion influencers and even stylists here on YouTube expressing how trapped they felt by developing a capsule wardrobe. And I feel like capsule wardrobes especially has been packaged as this perfect solution to all of your style problems. And yes, I do think that it can help a lot to build the foundation of your wardrobe, and it does not always have to be consistent of basics. Even though that's how it is typically shown, you can also mix in some more colorful and unique personality pieces. But generally, I don't think that it is a great base to base your personal style at, and more so, I would just use it as a tool. I think that it's much better to create a personal style that's more fluid instead of trying to force yourself into one aesthetic or one style box. In a previous video, I talked about how you can connect your style with who you are to develop a look that feels uniquely yours. And in another video, I talked about how you can develop a well-rounded, versatile wardrobe. So if you haven't seen those yet, I highly recommend to watch that next. Thank you so much Vivaya for sponsoring today's video. Don't forget to check them out through the link in the description box below. There you'll also find my discount code for 12% off, as well as the links to my other socials. So whatever content you'd like to consume, I hope to see you there or here in the next video. Bye!